My name is Jen. I'm working in biosystem agriculture engineering. So my area is in converting plant biomass, agricultural residue, and other waste materials to biofuels and bioproducts. As Bob mentioned, I joined in 2015 UK. So by the time I'm grateful that I met Dr. Williams, David Williams, and he introduced me to study some of the hemp materials that was generated at UK in the hemp program. So today I'll talk about the potential for hemp used in biofuels. So as you have learned, the hemp plant has many different parts. So if you have actually the fiber out, we can use it for green and CBD production. But at the same time, we generate a lot of other materials and byproducts from hemp processing. So I'm interested in the hemp herd, which is about 60 to 70% weight of the stock, and also the spent materials from CBD production or green production, which are the spent floral materials. So those materials tend to have a lower mechanical strength, and they have limited uses at this moment. You probably have heard them that we can use the herd for annual bedding or some of the building materials. So what I want to do here is we'll try to look at how can we use those materials to produce biofuels if there's a market in future. So look at any type of cellulosic biomass, including hemp. If we look into the structure of the plant material, we'll find out there are the microstructures, which the cell walls of this plant material. And inside the plant cell wall structure, you can see hemicellulose, cellulose, and the lignin. The hemicellulose and cellulose are the sugar streams in the material. So those sugars can be fermented to produce ethanol, butanol, or other type of biofuels. So lignin is a phenolics, so it has a lot of potential to replace some of the petroleum-based chemicals on the market. So the steps for biofuel production, currently a lot of the technology developed around biofuel production start from a pretreatment, which we can separate the sugars from the lignin, and the sugar stream will go through fermentation, as I mentioned earlier, to produce biofuels. The lignin can be further upgraded to produce chemicals and other materials. So there are two questions I can talk about today. The first question is how would hemp compare to other crops? So here we compared hemp with cannas, switchgrass, and sorghum. Switchgrass is one of the main energy crops that the people have studied for biofuel production. So we want to see how is hemp compared to the other type of crops. And first thing we want to look at the chemical composition of the raw material. So seeing his table that we found out hemp has similar sugar content as compared to the other crops. Well, the lignin content in hemp is slightly higher, which is about 22% as compared to other feedstocks. So this leads to a higher heating value of the hemp material because the lignin tends to have a higher heating value compared to the sugars. So move on to evaluate the biofuel potential from hemp. So what we did here is we based on the composition I showed you from the table in the previous slide, we can calculate the theoretical ethanol yield from the hemp material as well as other materials. So we can see the hemp material can generate maybe about 100 gallons per ton of the hemp material, which are slightly lower than some other feedstocks, but in general it's in a comparable range to the others. And we also calculate the 85% theoretical yield, which is a more realistic biofuel yield if you can use this material for the ethanol production. So based on the ethanol yield, as well as the green production from hemp. We assume that hemp also generates green in addition to the byproducts like the hemp stem or hemp stock. So what we found out, in general, hemp generate higher per hectare gross profit than other energy works, which is almost double of the profit we could get from switchgrass, and even higher than the profit which we can get from sorghum material. So the second question, we already tested hemp as compared to other crops, and how about different hemp cultivars? So if you are here yesterday, you heard about from Dr. Pierce that the UK hemp program tested different hemp cultivars at different locations, in Kentucky, either at Lexington or in Queensland, Kentucky. So we took 11 hemp cultivars from these two locations, which was grown in 2017, and we tried to compare, are they different, and what the difference means to biofuel production. So again, I start to share this figure with you. So we tested 11 hemp cultivars. Here's the green bar showing here is the green. Actually, the gray bar showing here is the yield of the straw, the plant material. You can see they range from 3,000 to 8,000 kilograms per hectare. And we also, within this 11 hemp cultivars, there are 5 dual purpose cultivars, means they produce both the fiber and the grain. So the green yield was plotted in the blue bars, and you can see the green yield is around 500 to 1,100 kilograms per hectare. And this figure shows the composition of the 11 hemp cultivars. I apologize, it's really a crowdy figure, but what you can see here is that those cultivars has high, I would say, high sugar content in terms of the cellulose and xylose. And we also see a huge variation of the lignin content in those cultivars. So those indicate that the cultivars are not the same. They vary largely among their composition, so that their potential for biofuels could be very different. So again, we did a rough analysis on the potential revenues from this 11 hemp cultivars. So what you can see is that among these 11 hemp cultivars, the dual-purpose cultivars tends to generate more revenue as compared to the single fiber-owning cultivars. So the two I highlighted here, one, the NWG331 is a cultivar from Colorado, and the one on the bottom, the Bielobrzeski, is a hemp cultivar. I think originated from Poland. And the other two, the dual-purpose cultivars, also generate higher revenue per hectare revenue as compared to the fiber-owning hemp cultivars. So, as I said, those are some ongoing research. It's an ongoing project, and we have some preliminary data. So from this data, we can have some conclusions. So we found out the composition of the hemp is comparable to other biomass feedstocks, which make it a very promising candidate for biofuel production. So we also found out that the experimental results that the sugar yield inside hemp is comparable to switchgrass, sorghum, and knaf, which they can project that biofuel yield will be very similar to the other type of feedstocks. So we also found out the dual purpose cultivars such as the two I mentioned could generate higher per hectare gross profit than other cultivars. And in general, we believe that industrial hemp, especially the byproducts from hemp processing, like the hemp hurd and the spent materials from the flower material, could generate higher or comparable, at least comparable per hectare gross profit as compared to the other crops. With that, I have people to acknowledge here, and I want to mention that this work is a collaboration with Department of Energy's Idaho National Laboratory. There are quite a bit of interest in Department of Energy about utilizing hemp material for the biofuel and the bioenergy production. So this will be something my group will look into in the future. I guess that's everything. Thank you so much.